You're muted.
All right, and check. Sorry, I have to do it once a show. So, Mark, on your next Vegas vacation, are you looking forward to using Bitcoin at a strip club?
I guess do I just like shove my phone down the underwear like in her pants? Is that how I tip her now?
Yeah, it's just contactless payment. You know, she just yeah. No, they for bottle service, a new strip club is going to start accepting Bitcoin, and then they're saying in the future they're going to be able to do it for everything from tips to lap dances to all across the board. Crazy Horse 3 in Vegas, Bitcoin payments coming soon. No word whether Dogecoin or Ethereum or any of these other cryptos are coming, but I'm sure, no doubt, a lot of businessmen, a lot of people really happy about this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, how many people use it and stuff, and they'll give them like funny money, kind of like if you ever gotten like a credit card cash advance type of thing at a club, they'll give you like paper their own monopoly money to use for tips and paying for stuff and all that type of thing. So that's kind of what they're going to do with Bitcoin, but I don't know. I'm not big into Bitcoin, and I don't I would almost hate paying with it because it's been going up so much. I know it's crashed back down, but it's more like I feel like an investment vehicle at this time versus a true payment system. So I don't know. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people coming in. We had a meetup here in Detroit, and one of the guys is kind of in the strip club industry, and he said there was a Bitcoin convention in like Miami, and the strip club down there did like $3 million in 3 days. So I'm guessing, that's kind of the draw, and they'll probably bring in all the young Bitcoin millionaires to have a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a good thing. The thing that I thought was so funny was like the quote that they did. It's like their press release. Crazy Horse 3 is committed to innovating the modern day guest experience. And as leaders of the Las Vegas entertainment industry, we are embracing the opportunity to accept Bitcoin as a way to deliver convenience, first class hospitality, and as an added level of anonymity for our guests. So, I mean, that's spin at its best. So, I'm sure, to your point, with what's happened in Miami and with what our friend said, I'm sure it's a sign of things to come and just an interesting little quirk to start off the show here. But lots to talk about. This weekend in Las Vegas was so busy with the UFC event and the first major event at Allegiant Stadium with Garth Brooks. He didn't sell out the stadium, or they claimed it was a sellout, but I know that there were tickets available that day, so still pretty successful event there, especially considering the UFC, and you had big events like Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan this weekend, and Justin Bieber was in town, a lot of stuff going on. But the one
The
thing that stood out to
Beebs.
me, yeah, there's this whole controversy about him. He was all jacked up after his performance at Excess at Win Encore, and he was like hyped up going through the casino, and then somebody took a video of him saying he was yelling at his wife, but apparently he was just hopped up on all that adrenaline from performing. But the thing that we noticed, did you see that video of everybody walking from Allegiant Stadium back to the Strip, and like this mass exodus, like just not enough space and like moving at a snail's pace? That doesn't look very fun.
No, it's going to be like everybody's future with football and all the other events. But yeah, it was. It's like the last thing I want to do is be walking in a huge crowd of people slowly. I hate it. I mean, you get that anytime you leave a stadium, but the fact that most of them are walking back to the strip too instead of going to cars and stuff, and it's not like there's somewhere else out there you can hang out and kind of kill time while the crowd dies. So maybe that's something they need to look into, or hopefully that builds up a little bit around the stadium in the future. But yeah, it was a big turn off for me. It kind of made me not want to check out the stadium for a bit. And
Yeah,
well, and then another crazy thing is, how does Garth Brooks, man? He's still selling out huge stadiums, and he's been around forever. So good for him.
yeah, good for him. I think this is a side effect of them not building enough parking, obviously on the stadium site, choosing a smaller stadium site, and then they haven't built any infrastructure. They didn't build any new bridges to get people across, so all they really have is the shut down car bridges, and there's a lot of people going there, and there's no mass transit over there, no Vegas Loop yet, Mark. Can you imagine the lines for the Vegas Loop
Yeah, it'd be
if that was
terrible.
to
It'd be
happen?
just as bad.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we all knew this was going to happen. At least the locals did. That there was going to be an adjustment period where it's going to take years for them to figure out the traffic situations, improve all the roadways. It did seem like everything went all right. It's just going to take some time. So if you're going to Allegiant Stadium, there isn't going to be a quick way to get back to your hotel room for a while, especially if you're walking. Just
You
the act of walking across that bridge is crazy.
you would have thought they would have built a whole bunch of pedestrian bridges when they were building the stadium. Like that should have been forced upon them to kind of figure this out ahead of time. It's kind of crazy that they didn't do anything. There's a lot of cities that have pedestrian bridges crossing rivers to get to stadiums and stuff. It's like this is pretty easy. You're just going over a road, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, and we're the king of pedestrian bridges, right? Las Vegas has so many pedestrian bridges. It's not a joke. And that was actually part of the proposal. I don't know what happened with the funding for that, but there was always talk of a pedestrian bridge going over the freeway. And, we've had other things like the monorail station getting approved for that area, which isn't going to happen. And yeah, they just haven't really done anything. They just put up the big black stadium, spent all that money on all that beautiful black glass, and then forgot to spend money on
The Death
the other
Star.
stuff along the way. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of spending money, we've talked a lot about Resorts Worlds and Crockfords, and last week we talked about some employee stuff. We'll get to that in a minute because we have some updates on what we discussed. But we got some pictures of Crockfords rooms this week, and they don't quite match up with what's on the website. Doesn't quite look as good as either one of us thought, I think.
Yeah, my first reaction was kind of like gross. It looks like, and we both have said it looks exactly like the Conrad room, like the design. You can see the table that's along the right wall as you're walking down the hallway where the mini bar is and the coffee machine, and you can see that in the picture on Twitter. And then the headboards and stuff are like a red color, but not really luxurious looking at all, and the chairs look the same, table looks the same, and it looks worse than Conrad. And I've already said I wasn't a huge fan of Conrad, but I thought in the picture it looked worse than the actual Conrad room that I stayed in. So definitely not impressed if that's actually the rooms. We haven't really seen a lot of stuff posted for Crockfords. Like I checked TripAdvisor just before we came on here. Nobody has any pictures of the rooms up on there. There's not like walkthrough videos really at all of people staying there. So who knows if this person thinks they're staying in Crockfords, but they got walked to Conrad without knowing. I don't know. It just seems really weird if this is the final product.
It does seem like the carpet matches up, and that's the one thing that makes me think that this is the final product. Plus, it doesn't look like the Conrad rooms exactly that we've seen. I did find one walkthrough of Crockfords rooms from opening night on YouTube, but it was a suite. And so the suite actually looks very similar to the pictures on the website. It's just this 2 queen bedroom that looks a little bit different. And I do believe that that is the way it will look. It does look disappointing. Also,
Garbage.
something I was, yeah, for what they're saying, I guess compared to that lobby, which like wowed and stunned both of us. We were just there. We loved it so much. We were expecting a lot more from the rooms. And the other thing about it is the rooms are the same size as the Conrad, which we knew, but it's the same layout, it appears to be. So you're not getting kind of a unique room in that way. It's just a little bit different decor. And with prices being, 1.5 to 2 times the amount, I don't know that it's going to be worth it, but I hope that we get to see more reviews and maybe the materials are higher quality. It's just a picture that we're looking at here. And I did look at that video of the suite. It did look really nice. So all is not lost there, but clearly not quite what we expected, I think, from the room. And also to this day on their website, the picture of the 2 queen bedroom looks very different than the one that we see in this picture of the actual room. So
Yeah.
hopefully they'll update that not to mislead people.
And that looks, kind of like the lobby. Like it's got the same color scheme, the same design features. It just feels like what you felt in the lobby when you look at that picture, at least. And the tall vaulted ceilings, which is probably for the top floor and probably for a suite. But when you're only having 200 rooms and this is supposed to be your premier property, you probably should have made the top 2 floors, super tall rooms. That it's in a lot of Vegas hotels, so it's not like it would have been that difficult for them to pull that off. But if that's really, you're getting low ceilings in their base room for 1.5 times the price, what are you paying for? I mean, anybody can go into that lobby and have a beer, so you're not getting that. I guess there's the lounge up top, but is that really worth the money? What are they doing here? It's, I don't know. Resorts World Casino, great. The hotel is just garbage.
I wouldn't say
Everywhere
garbage.
for the
You
price
yourself,
for the
yeah.
prices that they are asking, and for the way that they've kind of said it, like Conrad and Crockfords, and this is the first, what is it, LHR LXR.
LXR,
um
yeah.
yeah, this is the first Hilton LXR in America. There's only a handful in the whole world. This is their new premier brand, and you roll out that, no, no thanks.
Yeah, and I think even bigger concern is that they roll that out with Wynn and Encore across the street, where you do get a very, very good product that's superior, I think, to at least what we're seeing in the pictures, and hopefully get to see it ourselves in person. But I don't quite get it. I guess they're going to try to sell that entry experience, that lobby experience, that sort of private enclave where you're not dealing with the masses and all of that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they missed the mark here, at least with what we're seeing. Now, on the flip side, we talked last week about some dealers quitting and tips not being what they expected. And we actually heard from people working at Resorts World who gave us some more inside information, letting us know what happened. The tip stuff that we covered last week was real, but they miscalculated it. So apparently the dealers earned more money than what that sheet said. Is that right?
Yeah, it was about double. I think they're either divided by too many hours or too many people or something like that. But so that sheet was, half of what it should be, and people did end up quitting, and it was a lot of part-time people that this was their second job, and they thought they'd make decent money, working a few hours a week, and they quit. They said, you know what, this isn't worth it, and quit. And then like a day or two later, they figured out the error, and they weren't allowed to come back, and I guess they've already backfilled those positions. So we were told it's pretty doing pretty well as far as for dealers on the tip side. It's similar to what Cosmo was when it opened, and they say, and the dealer said it takes a while for it to ramp up. Whenever you open, tips are a little bit slower. And Cosmo, if it's on par with that opening, that's good, because they also said Cosmo is the best for dealers in terms of tips, and we dive into that a little bit more on the podcast. So if you haven't listened to it, make sure you listen to it. We talk about what they said the best properties in Vegas are for dealers as far as tips, earning, and income and everything. So it was interesting to get some of that background info.
All right, check out the podcast too on all of our Vegas content, mtmvegas.com. Our third episode of the podcast is now out, and we appreciate any reviews, and it's been great. It's been a great reception, and we really appreciate everybody who's downloaded, commented, shared it with everybody. mtmvegas.com, you can find all of our Vegas stuff, including the new podcast where, like you said, we go more in depth on this. And the other dealer who reached out to me also said they're making about $300 a day now. So yeah, that's good. And I know the dealer who reached out to you had said some of the nicer properties to work at. You said Cosmo, and they also said MGM Grand, which I know surprised both of us, but they said that's one of the best places to work as a dealer.
Yeah, and we talked about on the podcast how we think it's because MGM is kind of a name used in other markets, so maybe people feel more comfortable coming to an MGM branded property versus just going to a Bellagio and stuff when they're coming from the Asian market. So that makes sense. Or it used to be kind of the peak of Vegas, so maybe there's a lot of old timer whales that kind of go there for nostalgia or really enjoy the property. They have some nice high roller rooms and stuff like that, but I was still surprised to see it up there with Aria and Cosmo and Caesars and stuff like that. So it was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, good to see that, and keep the inside information coming. If you want to send us any tips or any more information on anything we cover, anything like that, Mark at milestomemories.com or Sean at milestomemories.com. We love all this inside information and tips, and we will definitely share it with our listeners and viewers. One other thing about Resorts World before we move on, Las Vegas locally is now reporting that they are going to have Amazon's cashless system in some of their shops. And that's, if anybody's familiar, like Amazon has these Amazon Go stores in certain cities. I got to test it out in New York City in early 2020. The way it works in the Amazon stores is you have their Amazon Go app, and that's linked to your Prime account, and that's all you have to do. You just walk in the store, the cameras track you everywhere. Whatever you take, you end up paying for. Whatever you don't, you don't. And I tested it. I took stuff off the shelves, moved it, put it back somewhere else, blah, blah, and it was perfectly accurate. So it was pretty cool tech to see in person, and it's coming to Vegas, although I'm not quite sure exactly where based on the Las Vegas localese information, but it does seem like Resorts World had that announcement kind of through them. So Looking forward to that, I guess. Some cool tech and some interesting stuff happening there. But any thoughts on that? Have you tried that out at all?
No, I haven't had a chance to, and it's kind of scary when you think about it that a camera can track all these people at one time walking around and what they buy and stuff. And I'm sure that's tracking on your phone and all kinds of stuff. And when you think about it, it's pretty freaky, the amount of information they can get just from cameras and your phone and systems. But it is, kind of unique and easier to get through. I hate waiting in line, so that's nice that you just walk out. And we've talked about Vegas, how there's lines for everything right now, so that will be a good plus. Resorts World struggled getting all this tech off the ground, so hopefully with Amazon being the partner in this one comes in real easily, and they've done it other places before. It's not like a new tech, kind of like their Players Club where you load stuff on and try to scan. So this is proven tech that hopefully Amazon helps them roll out properly. But it'll be cool to try out. I definitely will want to check it out, and hopefully more stores get it if it goes smoothly, because not having to wait in line at all and just walking in and out of stores is amazing. Come on, CVS, let's do this. CVS lines are the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And CVS still hasn't figured out how to shorten their receipts, so I'm not sure if they can figure out the cashless tech. They would be too hard pressed to give you a digital receipt when they want to print out all that paper. But yeah, it's good to see this, and it's in line with Resorts World's vision of this futuristic, tech everywhere. It's going to take them time to figure it out, but like you said, Amazon has this tech. It's been, I don't know, it's been 3 or 4 years since they rolled out their first store using it, and my one experience with it, and I actually had my friend with me too, Dave, and I scanned him in because he didn't have the app, so it'll track multiple people. So even if you scan multiple people into the store, it will track them and it will do it. So yeah, works really, really well. Another update we had was for the New York restaurants, that fee, that process fee that they were charging, that lasted all of about 3 days, right? They got a lot of
I think like 2-3
flack
days.
Yeah, Vital Vegas covered it, and then we covered it, and a listener kind of he wrote to them. He was really upset with them. Somebody who is at their restaurants all the time, and got an email from the manager there. I can assure you that we never instructed anyone to say it was to collect that it was a law to collect the fee, and that they gave all their managers instructions not to do that. And then it just basically says it was to cover the privacy protections for credit card transactions and internet safety, but also that they realized it was a mistake to charge it because people didn't like it, and so they backtracked. Good for them, I guess. Hopefully this.
Yeah, it's because of the negative news, not because of the
Yeah.
customers. It was because they're getting negative publicity. I mean, we saw the same thing with Frontier Airlines. They added a COVID surcharge for cleaning the planes, which you should have been cleaning the planes all along anyway, and airlines never really did a good job of that. But they're like, oh, we had to take extra measures. It's like, well, that's part of your business right now. Hotels have to take extra measures, restaurants, type of thing. So we were the first ones to report it, and it kind of got picked up by hundreds of news outlets. And Frontier ended up canceling the fee like a day later. And they said, people misunderstood what this was and that type of thing. We were trying to be more upfront by breaking out the fee and showing them what we're charging for everything. It's like, no, you weren't, but okay. But the negative press really gets these fees stopped. So if you do see any fees when you're in Vegas or anywhere else, let us know and we'll do our part trying to get it out there and trying to get it stopped.
Yeah, for sure. We love to fight against this stuff, and the resort fee thing, that battle I think is lost. Although we can continue to battle for full disclosure and getting everything disclosed up front, but they're going to keep trying to add these fees, and we got to keep fighting back. And like I said last week, I would not eat at a restaurant that charges a fee like this. I would make it a point not to. Thankfully, they reverse course. There are some really good restaurants that ARC runs at New York, and I'm not going to say anything, but try it out. I know Gallagher's Steakhouse, very, very popular there. Also, with Vegas coming back with all this entertainment, there's some news this week that I saw on Twitter. C-Note on Twitter, somebody who I follow has a lot of fun in Vegas. O'Shea's has brought back beer pong. Are you excited? Yeah,
Yes,
that's awesome, right?
yes. I love O'Shea's. I mean, do I love it as much as old O'Shea's? No. It's much nicer, the new O'Shea's, which is a part of, they kind of wrapped it into Link, so it's, casino within a casino if you haven't been. But the old one had a lot of charm and a lot of spilt beer. But yeah, it's a fun area to hang out. They always have live music, a really big bar, tables with fun dealers, and of course beer pong, which is always a good time. We've played in there quite a few times and always met new people and just had a riot. So it was sad when it went away, and it just didn't feel the same when I was there in February. I gambled in there, and there wasn't really anybody in there because there was no music, there was no beer pong, the atmosphere was gone. So it's fun to see that come back, and I look forward to checking it out when I'm next in town.
Yeah, there's nothing like playing beer pong at like 2 in the morning. I remember a couple years back, friend Dave and I and our wives were playing beer pong after a long night of drinking at the Diamond Lounges back in the day when when that was a thing, because apparently the Laurel Lounges aren't coming back. But we're playing beer pong, and then Dave he was really sort of tipsy. He's gonna hate me for telling this story, but all of a sudden we're in the middle of the game and we're throwing the balls, and all of a sudden he just walks off and disappears, and we don't know what happens to him. So then like 5 minutes goes by and we're all like what happened to him? And so we all go searching in the bathrooms and everything else, and it turns out that he went to go to the bathroom, didn't think to tell any of us. He just literally walked off playing beer pong with 3 other people, disappeared. But he went to like the furthest bathroom away, so we had like sent out a search party, and then finally 15-20 minutes later it came back. But the reason for that is because they served IPA right there. You could buy IPA with beer pong, which is not a good idea after a long night of drinking. The the extra alcohol content, I think, did us all in. But good times there. I do
Yeah,
miss the old O'Shea's.
stick with Miller Lite at the end of the night because it's basically get your
Yeah,
water in you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do miss the old O'Shea's though. I've enjoyed the new one. The old one was cool. I played beer pong there back in the day as well, and I was never like a college beer pong person. I kind of came to it a little later in life, so I haven't played all that much, but it's a fun game, and I'm glad to see it's coming back. I know it's a big part of places like the Margaritaville Casino and some other places on the Strip. And one other kind of update too is the train situation. Nothing huge happening here, but the Brightline company who's building the train in South Florida from Miami all the way up to Orlando and eventually Tampa, they bought the Desert Express project here that's supposed to go from Vegas to Victorville, not all the way to LA, but that's a discussion for another time. But they bought their land, $110 million on the South Strip. It's at Warm Springs and Las Vegas Boulevard. This is kind of kitty corner to the rental car center. If people know where that outlet mall is on the South Strip, that's where this is, right across the street from that, a couple miles south of Mandalay Bay. Pretty good location. Probably the best location that they could have picked. This was actually a stadium site, or one of the potential stadium sites for an A's stadium and stuff. So $110 million, a lot of money. At least it means that this project is still moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, if they're buying that, then it's likely that, they're all in on it. So as we said, Victorville, okay. But hopefully it gets some traffic off the street coming from California. I mean, I'd still probably use it if I was coming from LA. You still have to drive to Victorville, but at least, then you can get on a train and do work while you're coming over, or, relax, have a drink or whatever. So get the party started a little bit early. So hopefully it works out, and hopefully all this, we get some Vegas loop action, and we get, the streets less crowded. So that's the goal.
For sure. If people are knowing, I'm not in my normal place today. I'm actually in northern Michigan, your home state, because I was down in
Yes.
southern Michigan, and we went up to your cottage and hung out at the lake, got the kids together. They got to swim in Lake Huron. Also got to check out some of the Detroit casinos and see some of Detroit. And now we're up here checking out the Traverse City area and northern Michigan on the Lake Michigan side. So really great kind of vacation, seeing what Michigan has to offer. Really beautiful state, not a surprise there, and having a good time. But I did enjoy. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Detroit casinos and how quirky they are. A little bit what's going on right now. The first thing I noticed at MGM Grand is the smoking situation. Your governor has outlawed smoking indoors at the casinos for COVID, so they have these like temporary things set up outside where everybody's sort of huddled together. And it reminded me of back when I used to work at MGM Grand. Back in the day, these casinos for employees would have smoking rooms. And at MGM Grand, imagine a place that has thousands of employees. What does a smoking room look like? It was probably at any given time, 100,
So
150 people in there.
it was essentially the stage door casino.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly like that, but worse. And I smoked at the time. I smoked up until I was 22 years old. And I worked there when I was in my late teens. So I smoked. And just being in that room full of smoke, and like you would get like an instant headache. And it was just crazy. The walls were like originally white, but they were like brown from all the cigarette smoke. And it had that old, tech where it wasn't like today where they could suck the air out much better. It was, the air just sort of loomed in there. Like you walked in, and it gave me good old memories of the MGM Grand smoking room. Anybody out there, you guys remember those old school casino employee smoking rooms? But that was cool. I mean, MGM Grand in Detroit, though.
Why wouldn't they have an outdoor area like
because this was the 90s. This was the 90s,
So they're like, just imagine now it'd be all you could clam bake in there, and everybody rolls out to work high from all the smoke in there.
But you're right. Why didn't they build it outdoors? That would have been much nicer, right? Instead of forcing everybody to go into this.
Especially in Vegas, like it's not like Michigan where I mean, they make people go outside in Michigan and there's snow, so I don't know why you wouldn't in Vegas. Put up like a shade tent and be done with it.
Yeah, nowadays they have to go outside. So this was something that changed. But and the one in Michigan, the one at the MGM Grand, was outside for the guests. That casino is really nice. It looks a lot like a Vegas casino. You told me that the casinos in Detroit, when they first opened, they took over other spaces, but MGM Grand was the only one who built their own purpose-built casino, and it kind of shows that this thing is, Vegas-style gaming.
Yeah, originally MGM was in I think the old police headquarters building, so it was really boxy and weird and not at all great. And they built, and that was kind of like they were staying there, and then they built the property that they're in now, which was built for them specifically, so it's a lot better. Like the Motor City Casino is kind of like an old bakery building. Part of it they built out and part of it they repurposed, and then Greektown is like an old mall, which I know you kind of like because it's all brick interior and a lot of weird stairways going across an open atrium and stuff. So it's unique, probably one of the most unique casinos I've ever been in. And there's little pockets everywhere where there's nobody sitting, so it's really quiet in certain areas. And they're constant. Every time you go in there, they're moving stuff around, trying to see what works. So it's probably the one that changes the most around here too. So it's always interesting.
And Greektown wins the award for the nastiest security guard I've ever encountered in any casino. But I liked that casino a lot. To your point, other than the
even more than guard. Bob, even more than Bob.
Oh yeah, Bob wasn't. This woman, she would eat Bob for lunch. She would eat Bob for lunch. But God bless her. And the casino itself, I really did enjoy. I'll put up some video here of the red brick exterior, all the little rooms, because like you said, they built it in a mall, and it's really cool. That property is now owned by Penn National Gaming on the gaming side, and Vici Properties owns the land. So it's interesting to see how all of these places have shifted. That sold recently. And the other thing, before we go, the other thing I noticed, obviously, Canada's still closed for everything but essential travel. So this casino's over there closed. There's one sort of right across the river from the area where your cottage is, which kind of looks all sad over there. And then I also did go to downtown Detroit and looked out across the river at Caesars Windsor, which is sitting there looking really nice. It looks like a nice place to visit. So I'll have to come back and check it out another time when Canada is open to us Americans. That's going to do it for this week's show. I mean, if you let us know what you guys think about these topics, don't forget to smash the thumbs up button, leave a comment, share the videos, subscribe. You can email us, Sean or Mark at milestomemories.com if you have any tips. Let us know what you think about the exodus from Allegiant Stadium or anything else that we talked about today, the Resorts World rooms, all of that. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
See you next week.